whatever this keystone habit is, you might have been doing it completely unconsciously. So for example, when you started doing your remarkable journaling habit, I noticed you have a huge improvement in your quality of life, in your productivity, in your centeredness throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month.
What's that one thing that only you can do to support you and to ground yourself on the day-to-day that's going to help you feel this more empowered, more just holistically evolved version of yourself? Conscious couples, business partners, and singles committed to attracting their dream partner. Welcome to the Conscious Couples podcast, where we share our life, love story, and combined relationship expertise to help you create and consistently cultivate the most magnificent, intimate relationship possible.
Never again will you feel hopeless and alone in your intimate relationship challenges.
Having accumulated thousands of hours coaching conscious couples and individuals all over the world, as well as starting and growing a global business together, Alan and I are here to guide you in all things relationships.
Thank you again for tuning into the one place where it's not about you or me, it's about the we. Conscious couples and individuals, welcome back to the one and only Conscious Couples podcast for episode number 118. Do you know your partner's keystone habit? Before we jump into this episode, we want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Next Level Podcast Solutions, who produces this show and so many others. Thank you for spreading personal development, personal growth, self-improvement into the world. The world needs it desperately. Also, sweetheart, ladies first, what is your intention for today's episode?
My intention for today's episode is to help our listeners grow together based off of this one element that we're going to bring forward, gain more self-awareness, number one, and then bring that self-awareness into the me in the relationship so that the me can bring that further into the we. And why? Because when we have habits that hold things together, it's that much more possible for us to grow together than apart.
Okay, so this concept came to us actually today.
Yeah.
On a relationship talks coaching session earlier today with a client couple that we've been working with for almost 2 years now. One of our best. Yes. They have been achieving all of their things, all their dreams. They are doing all the good stuff. Shout out to you too.
They're amazing.
Yes. So during the session, somehow this came up, and I've been talking a lot about this lately with my clients in business coaching as well. And it's a keystone habit. The idea of the keystone habit is there's an archway, and imagine an archway that's built of stone. In architecture, civil engineering, there's a keystone at the center, the upper part of the arch, that actually holds the whole thing together. And so the idea of a keystone habit is simple. It's what's the one thing that keeps you together, keeps you sane. And so Emilia and I had a discussion with this couple, and I know I coach the male in this relationship one-on-one as well. And I know that his keystone habit is exercise. And so they just moved into a new house and they've been moving. He hasn't had a chance to exercise. And so essentially he's been sort of a little bit more crabby or on edge than usual because he hasn't gotten in his keystone habit. And so for him, so everyone out there watching or listening to this, what's the one habit where if you don't do it consistently, you kind of unravel?
You feel like you're all over the place.
Go ahead, love.
I was just going to say, you feel like all over the place because the concept is like, if you picture like every listener that's listening, like you've probably gone into some sort of building that has had an archway, and without that one stone at the very center point, if that wasn't there, that archway wouldn't be something that you'd be walking through. So it would crumble. The keystone habit, what's amazing about this is that without this, we fall apart. Without this, our lives feel like it's crumbling and everything feels exponentially harder. So for this individual, without, obviously, when you go through a huge life transition, this one being moving, it's not really going to be like super easy to have your keystone habit prioritized, this being exercise. So you're going to feel a lot all over the place. You're going to be more crabby. You're going to have pretty much less patience because that's the one thing that's pretty much holds your sanity together. So everyone has something. What we learned in this call is that not everyone is fully aware of what theirs is.
Yeah, that was actually really fascinating to me. So the female in the relationship didn't really know what hers was. It was actually really cute. She ended up saying,
so sweet.
She ended up saying that quality time with him is her keystone habit. That's the one thing that keeps her together. And we said that is the cutest thing ever, and they did a little kiss on the call. It was so cute.
Oh my goodness.
But we also said you probably should have your own as well.
Her homework was that.
Yeah, her homework is to figure out what is the one habit. And by the way, I want to make this very clear. The difference between a habit and a task. And I use this example always because it always seems to land. Emilia and I have a rice cooker, and we do chicken and rice often. Putting rice in the rice cooker each day is a habit. Buying a new rice cooker because your rice cooker broke is a task. And so that's the difference. So if it's not daily, don't consider it a habit. So this client exercises 30 minutes a day minimum. And if they don't do that, they tend to get a little crabby. So the question for all of our listeners out there, and again, do you know your partner's keystone habit? What is the habit, the daily practice that your partner, male or female, does that keeps them together? And when they don't do it, you notice a shift in their energy.
Yeah. So like, for example, Alan, I can tell as his partner when he hasn't had his keystone habit. And I know that obviously we evolve over time. So what that habit is, that might evolve over time, what that actually looks like, the way in which you do it, where you sit when you do it, whatever it is, right? It evolves with you as you evolve. But what I have observed in at least this very chapter of Alan's life, the keystone habit for him has been his dreamliner. Whenever he doesn't do his dreamliner, which is more than just dreamlining, by the way, it is his consciousness really allocated into one page. And when that doesn't ground him first thing in the morning, I notice his energy is like all over the place. He's all over the place. And obviously not like crazy like a lot of people if they didn't have that, but
less centered than usual.
Yeah,
all
definitely.
over the place, not compared to anyone else, but
how I know you
versus you, comparison to what me doing the dreamliner is.
Right.
And this is the thing, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
If you take this one thing out, everything crumbles. That's the way to think about it.
Yeah. That's why the arch analogy is so powerful, because that's the thing. Like we have that tangible understanding. If you remove that one stone, the arch will crumble. This is if you were to take away your dreamliner on the day-to-day, you're kind of crumbling in a way. And so as partners, obviously, you and I are super observant of each other's behaviors. So I notice the days when you're not grounded. And it's those days that just so happen to tie, oh, did you not do that dreamliner today? Right. And I just so happen to notice that. And here's the thing that we learned in that call that I think is going to be important for our listeners is you might not be like the female in this relationship, super aware of what your keystone habit is. What is that one thing that keeps you together? And like this individual on the call, it might actually be someone else. Now, here's the catch-22 about that is if your keystone habit is reliant upon someone else's existence, connection into you, like for example, quality time with your partner, you might not get that every single day. So you're kind of leaving yourself open to not only vulnerability, but you're leaving a lot on the table when it comes to your own self-awareness of what's that one thing that only you can do to support you and to ground yourself on the day-to-day that's going to help you feel this more empowered, more just holistically evolved version of yourself. And for Alan, that's his dreamliner, hands down. As of late, he has been really doing something very special, going into the very beginning of the morning, going into his training, having a bowl of cereal, having his protein in the morning. And sometimes that might be at the expense of his dreamliner. He'll still get it in during the day, but I'll notice an energy shift if he's super empowered when he does have that quality time with himself in terms of focused in on his training, having his cereal, having his protein. But if it's also not with his dreamliner, there's a noticeable shift.
It's an anchor that keeps you grounded and certain.
Yeah.
And it keeps you humble and it keeps you centered. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean an anchor as in it holds you back. I think it's
like a mooring.
It's so the dreamliner gives me certainty of what my day is going to look like. So the top of it is top 3 gratitudes, then it's my top 3 most important tasks, then it's my most important win and my most important improvement from the previous day, and it's what I learned yesterday. And on top of that, there's a blank page on the right. There's going to be a link to the dreamliner in the show notes, and we have it on Amazon. You can buy a paperback or a hardcover. Emilia has her own journal she uses in her Remarkable. By the way, forgive my energy. This is my 30th episode of the week. Kevin's going on a trip, and I'm going on a trip as well with Emilia, and I've recorded a lot. I'm pouring the very last bit of what I've got left at the tail end of a week here. So forgive my energy. It's just going to be a little down right now. That said, Emilia has a journaling habit as well that I'll notice. Now, here's the thing. If you've gone the last couple of years without journaling, you're not going to notice taking the journal away.
No.
And so whatever this Keystone habit is, you might have been doing it completely unconsciously. So, for example, when you started doing your Remarkable journaling habit, I notice you have a huge improvement in your quality of life, in your productivity, in your centeredness throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month. Then when you take it away, it's noticeable. The other piece of this too is the winter versus the spring for Emilia. So the two that I'm going to bring up here for Emilia, number one is her journal. It's in her Remarkable. It's a digital version.
It's a digital version of the Evolve Journal.
Okay, it's called the Evolve Journal.
Which we don't have the hard copies of those just yet.
Not yet.
What's going on? This is Branden and Hannah. We wanted to give a shout out to Alan and Emilia and their relationship talks. And going into relationship talks, I was under the impression that, my relationship didn't have any conflict or didn't have any problems. It actually was that way, but I knew I wanted a relationship that resembled Alan and Emilia, and that's a relationship that is just next level and different from other relationships. So seeking out their help has really brought me and Hannah together, and it's just been really, really incredible, and I can't thank them enough.
Yeah, Alan and Emilia have both helped us in recognizing and acknowledging each other's really important core values and given us insight and guidance on how to align those together so that we know we're growing together and never apart. The goal is always to kind of be in everything together as a team.
Alan and Emilia, we love you and thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you.
Give us the high level. I know it's a whole thing.
Yeah, it is a whole thing, but high level, it's 3 gratitudes in the morning. It charts my day, essentially. What are my 3 goals for the day to accomplish? It has 1 priming question that directs my unconscious narrative to, meaning, like, for example, like what one thing can I do today that can help demonstrate my values better? Like, that's 1 priming question that I'll put. I'll log my sleep score. I'll log what day of my cycle I'm in, my menstrual cycle. I'll log what my weight was, and I'll log the former day's calories. So it's tracking the numbers that are super important to me for my brain health and for my overall holistic well-being. And then at the very end of the day, it's 3 gratitudes. I have 3 lessons that I've learned. I have 3 wins. And then I have a quote that has stuck or resonated with me that I've learned from the day.
Nice. Okay, so you do it morning and evening.
Yep.
All right. And if you miss the evening, you do it the next morning,
yes.
Vice versa. Okay.
Yep.
So here's the thing. We all need a guardrail. We all need a railing. We all need train tracks. We need something that gives us certainty. Human beings need certainty. What is confidence? Confidence is certainty that you can move forward. And so whatever that habit is for you, it's something that grounds you. It's something that keeps you certain. It's something that helps you understand what your next move is. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's exercise. Maybe it's meditation. Maybe it's yoga. Maybe it's
a therapeutic exercise for me. It's grounding for my mental health and for my overall well-being, honestly. So actually the girl in this relationship talks, the woman had said, maybe my coffee. And then it was really sweet. She was like, well, I think that's kind of more of an addiction, but there's something every single day that helps to ground you to something.
Yeah, but it could be tea on the porch.
Yeah, it could be a ritual.
Listening to bird, whatever it is that gets you centered for the day.
Yeah.
One other one to give as an example for Emilia is in the winter, this was a big noticeable shift because it's spring now and it's actually nice out, and Emilia getting outside. Yeah. Getting outside for Emilia in the warm weather is massively noticeable how much more fulfilled she is and how much of a bigger, brighter light she is with that. So check in with yourself. What look at yourself, look at your past, look at your present. What is the one thing that if you took it out, you would immediately be dimmer? You would not be as big or bright of a light.
Yeah.
And then the same question, but for your partner. And then ask your partner to ask the same question for themselves and for you. And then do that feedback loop, and you're going to get, and here's the key, the Keystone habit, pun intended. Don't miss that one thing.
Yeah.
Make your morning or whatever part of your day focused on that.
Yep.
Because that's what's really going to make the biggest difference. What's the one thing where when you do it, everything else kind of falls into place? I'm going to give one more example. There's a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. He talks about his example. His keystone habit is exercise. When he exercises, he also eats better because he doesn't want to waste the exercise.
Yep.
He also sleeps better because he's exhausted himself physically.
Right.
He also ends up having that post-workout high, so he feels good, the neurochemistry.
More endorphins.
At the end of the day, there's one habit that creates a ripple effect into the rest of your life, and that's really what this is about. And if you are more fulfilled and more bigger and better and brighter, your relationship will inevitably be as well.
That's per the intention. Whatever is going to benefit the me in the relationship is inherently going to be brought into the we, right? And so it really is a ripple effect. And here's the thing that I just want to say in closing. A lot of what I shared with Alan after this call, I want to share on this episode, is a lot of women actually really struggle to figure out what this is. And so you might not have self-awareness in this arena. That's why the suggested homework for the female in this relationship was to go on a scavenger hunt of trying to observe herself and ask her partner what he has observed about her. And a lot of women in particular are so concerned about taking care of everyone else that they actually haven't self-observed or self-reflected or gotten into a practice of that. So if you happen to fall into that bucket, it is so important for you to learn this about yourself, because this is the one thing that's going to help you help everyone else. To be selfish is a selfless act, and it's so critical.
Assuming you're not already wildly selfish, which you probably are not if you're listening to this show.
Likely.
I just thought of another one. I realized that a lot of times it's a shower for people.
Yeah.
When you take a shower, that's such a self-care experience. That can also be it. If you miss your morning shower, your whole day goes off the rails. If you miss your coffee or tea in the morning with whatever, the birds or whatever.
Your hair ritual, whatever.
Think of what that is. What's the one thing, and this is the best way to honestly find it. When is your partner crabby? That's what it is.
What did they not do that day?
We playfully say a Krabby Patty. Whenever your partner is noticeably a Krabby Patty, it's because they didn't do X, Y, or Z. That's where all the answers are.
Oh, yeah.
And so, versus the opposite of when are they big, bright, bubbly, fulfilled, happy, and just notice those patterns. A lot of these things are totally doable.
Because we are creatures of habit.
Of course.
But yet we don't necessarily know what those habits are that make the biggest difference. So this is the scavenger hunt all of our listeners get to go on, and we're excited to have you guys share what that is for you. And
if you want to have help figuring out what your Keystone habits are, what Keystone habits you can use in your relationship, how to track habits, at Next Level University, we track habits. I know you do that at Evolve Ventures. Mm-hmm. I have 23 people on my coaching roster that all of them track habits. So if you want a habit tracker, we have one. We also can send you one. If you need a financial tracker, reach out to me, Alan at theweuniversity.com or Emilia at theweuniversity.com, spelled just like it sounds. Both of those will be in the show notes. And if you want to do relationship talks coaching with us, free half hour. The first one is free, and come check it out. It will be awesome.
Yeah, we have a hybrid model right now that is fuego, meaning the male and the female in the relationship have a 4-way call with Alan and I, and then we split off into a female-female interaction one-on-one each month, and then a male-on-male. And that is so fun and amazing. So reach out for that information. Additionally, in the show notes, you'll see a link to register when this episode launches. Happy Monday. This coming Thursday, actually, May 16th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have our 35th Relationship Talks event, how your self-talk is sabotaging your relationship. So a lot of us have this narrative that's going on in our head. It can be really supportive or really destructive. And when we are talking to ourselves in a really negative way, that ends up rippling into the relationship. And we don't want that happening for you. And so we would love to have you there. You don't need to have your mic or camera on. Friendly reminder, you can just join whether it's from the car, or, in your bed in cozies, whatever. We would love to have you.
And correct me if I'm wrong, love, but if I'm constantly bickering at myself in my own inner dialogue, what are the chances I'm going to treat you with kindness? Right? That's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And it goes deeper than that, but you got to join us for that. Also, one more thing I want to clarify. If anyone is same-sex couples, we still do the hybrid model.
Yeah.
It's just when it's heterosexual couples, we do male, male, female, female. I just want to make that clear.
Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome. As always, thank you for listening. We appreciate all of you so very much. Thank you for tolerating my low energy right now. This was episode 30 for me for the week.
Whoop.
And when you listen to us on Monday, sign up and this Thursday will be the RT event.
Mm-hmm.
As always, it's not about you or me. It's about the we. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Conscious Couples podcast. We love connecting with the Conscious Couples community, so please make sure you follow us on Instagram. I am at Evolve with Emilia, and Alan is Lazaros88.
Also, if you or your partner resonated with this episode, leave us a review at the link in the show notes, and please share this with someone you love and care about.
Until next time, remember, it's not about you or me. It's about
the we.